Right now, the U.S. is engaged in a high-stakes shadow war in the Middle East, aimed at stopping Iran from moving uranium enrichment deep underground. Inside fortified facilities like the one at Pickaxe Mountain, Iran has been heavily enriching uranium. They have amassed hundreds of kilos to a purity of 60%. From there, it is a short technical hop to the 90% purity required for nuclear weapons. At the same time the U.S. fights to suppress that program, the U.S. Department of Energy has floated a deal to allow domestic uranium enrichment right next door, in Saudi Arabia. This creates a direct contradiction, spending billions to dismantle a nuclear capability in one country, while actively proposing those capabilities for its neighbor. The U.S. has walked this path before. In 1967, the United States gave Iran its very first nuclear test reactor, because at the time, the Shah of Iran was a close, reliable American ally. When the government was overthrown during the revolution, that trusted partner became an enemy who now controls the nuclear foundation the U.S. provided. Today, Saudi Arabia's de facto ruler, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, is a close U.S. ally, but he is only about 40 years old. A domestic nuclear program has a timeline of 40 to 50 years, easily outlasting any single leader's current geopolitical guarantees. Providing long-term domestic uranium enrichment to an absolute monarchy carries the multi-generational risk of arming a future adversary. The deal currently on the table is meant for civil, peaceful nuclear power. It includes a 2-year study period to develop domestic uranium enrichment physically on Saudi soil under U.S. guidance. This map shows why Washington is eager to make the offer. If America refuses, the Saudis are fully capable of taking their nuclear business to South Korea, France, Russia, or China. The deal keeps Saudi Arabia locked within the orbit of U.S. influence. The Trump administration has attached a non-negotiable condition to the offer. Saudi Arabia must join the Abraham Accords and officially recognize the State of Israel. This policy uses highly sensitive nuclear enrichment capabilities as a direct point of leverage to force regional normalization. Formalizing ties with Israel is a political impossibility for the Saudi leadership right now. The scale of the destruction in Gaza has deeply radicalized the Saudi domestic population. Saudi Arabia has a large, devout Muslim population that views Palestinians as brothers and sisters. Recognizing Israel under these conditions presents a literal death sentence for the Saudi leadership. Saudi diplomats have laid down a firm counter-demand. They will only sign the accords if there is a clear, irrevocable path to an independent Palestinian state. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is vehemently opposed to that required condition. He argues that a Palestinian state would serve as a springboard for further attacks against Israel. The deal is trapped. It requires concessions that neither the Israeli nor the Saudi governments can survive making. Even if the deal is stalled, merely proposing it triggers a reaction. Over in Tehran, the prospect of a U.S.-backed Saudi enrichment program empowers the hardliners of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps who currently control the country. Iranian leadership looks at the fate of Libya, where Muammar Gaddafi agreed to give up his weapons of mass destruction and ended up killed in a gutter. Then they look at North Korea, a regime that built a massive nuclear arsenal and successfully survived global pressure. If Saudi Arabia is promised domestic enrichment, Iran is incentivized to spin its underground centrifuges to achieve a workable nuclear deterrent before their neighbor can catch up. Offering advanced nuclear technology as a diplomatic tool for one country acts as an existential threat to its rival, shortening the timeline for weaponization. This map shows how a single policy contradiction fractures the entire region. In 2009, the United Arab Emirates agreed to a U.S. civil nuclear deal that strictly banned domestic enrichment. Granting that capability to Saudi Arabia now alienates allies who accepted the original restrictions. Nations like Egypt and Turkey already watch these negotiations with concern. If Saudi Arabia breaks the precedent and gains domestic enrichment, these neighboring states would face immense pressure to seek their own indigenous nuclear capabilities to maintain regional parity. This proliferation would unfold in close proximity to Pakistan, an existing nuclear-armed state with very close ties to Saudi Arabia. This creates a scenario where a highly volatile region is locked into the Cold War doctrine of mutually assured destruction. By attempting to engineer a diplomatic normalization through nuclear concessions, The U.S. policy paradox risks creating a regional environment where multiple states feel compelled to reach for a nuclear deterrent.